effing wrestling. We put the F back in wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Chase Harrison.
I'm J.R. Quitman.
And you are listening to the podcast where we put the F back in wrestling. What does that F stand for?
Whatever you like.
Yeah, it could
Whatever
be
you
anything.
like. It could be fan.
It could be fun.
Fun.
It could be funnel cake.
Funnel cake is the best.
I don't know why, but you know what? There are some strange matches in professional wrestling. You never know. I'm almost certain someone's been hit in the face with funnel cake.
It's happened before.
You know what? I'm going to go on a limb and just say it. It's happened.
100%.
It's happened.
I totally
and you know
agree.
what? If it hasn't, you should comment.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes. FNWrestling.com.
Because we just got to say this.
FNWrestling.com.
This is our first episode.
First one.
Me and JR usually just sit at work and we talk about wrestling. Yep. And we go back and forth on who our favorites are, what some of our favorite rivalries are, what our favorite matches are, or we make stuff up. We make our stuff off our top of our head.
A lot of faction talk.
A lot of faction talk. You and I will just kind of go, hey, why isn't it called this? Or you know what team would be neat?
Right.
I mean, we've reformed the Ministry of Darkness, and we've reformed the Four Horsemen so many times.
If somebody could hear what we said, everybody would love wrestling so much more right now.
It would be seen as the art form that it's sadly looked down upon as.
Exactly.
I mean, it's seen as like a wrestling sport, like a full contact sport.
Yes.
And while there's full contact, while there is insane fight choreography, and it's very much real in the damage that can be taken, it has this kind of dark cloud over it of just being predetermined.
Right. Or the dreaded F. Oh.
We're not, that is what F does not stand
the
for.
F does not stand for that.
The F in wrestling does not, and I repeat, does not stand for fake.
No.
That is a word that will not be said or tolerated within these hollowed walls. Of
effing wrestling.
Of effing wrestling.
Things have almost become physical just from a conversation, just from somebody calling it fake.
Oh yeah, when me and JR,
how you jump up and you jump in the ring, roll around, or get slammed in the ring 3 or 4 times in.
I don't even
4
like getting
minutes.
up in the morning.
Dude, I don't get off the ground 5 times during the day.
I've thrown my back out just standing up.
Throw my back out
Sneezing. And you know what these guys are doing? They're throwing themselves around, and people look down upon it just because of this idea we know who's going to win.
Right.
Which makes no sense at all. It's disrespectful. It's like the grand argument of sitting there going, oh, that's cool, so you know Hamlet dies at the end of every play, right? I mean, he's never once made it to the end.
Yeah.
You sit there the whole time, and like, movies aren't gonna end.
Yeah.
They're not gonna
Romeo
change.
and Juliet do die.
There's never once been a...
Wait, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to...
No, I'm not going to drink that poison. I'm not going to stab myself. Let's just run off together. No.
Yeah.
And yet we don't call that...
You still go to the play and watch it.
Yeah, it's that weird thing with... but wrestling's not a lot of that. And I think it's because they do try to match... And yes, there was those years of kayfabe where they did treat it real. They did treat it very much... These people hate each other. And in those old school ways, they held to it. And it's very respectful. And that's what really gets me into wrestling is... the modern day circus lifestyle these guys lived.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, and it's way better now.
Rock stars. A lot better
it's
now,
so much better now from just like from the little snippets that I read from sites and know about myself and just I'm an avid. I like to know about the stuff just so I start to research on it.
Yeah.
And just from like the horror stories you hear from back in the day, it's nutty. Like watch the Vice special, Dark Side of the Ring, which is an incredible series.
That series is incredible, man.
It's top notch, man. Me and you we flew through the first 2 seasons nonstop, and every time, every day we would just run down. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Just trying to waiting for this one and waiting for that one, and just trying to see how tragic the life of it all is.
Right, and that's a lot. Back in the day, like I'm in my 40s. I'm 41 years old, so I'm about 10 years or so older.
Yeah, I'm 32, so you're like a solid.
So yeah, I'm an 80s. You know what I mean? Grow up in the 80s. My fandom goes back to the late 80s.
You're an NWA fan. You're like an old school like NWA, WCW, Jim Crockett era.
Yes, I don't, man. Hearing like knowing that these dudes like rode together with other like heels and faces rode together and talked to each other behind the ring, behind the scenes and stuff like that. No.
Well,
not with me growing up. It was real. Like seeing. I'm sorry. I remember going to a show in Asheville, North Carolina, baby. The Asheville Civic Center.
North Carolina, because we are a North Carolina-based podcast, and wrestling is has a lovely pulse here in the Carolinas.
Great history in North Carolina.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your story. You were in Asheville.
Asheville, baby. The Civic Center. I remember being there and able to see like down and behind the curtain. And I remember seeing one of the guys from Newbury. I don't remember if it was Champion or the other guy. I can't remember his name right now. But he was talking to a guy that he had just wrestled, and they were like laughing it up and shaking. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is going on?
NWA would come through my hometown, which was Little Washington, North Carolina. Okay. And they would just do house shows, and they were always really neat. And I remember there was one wrestler who I never saw in any program. I only saw him on these house shows called Rampage.
Okay.
And
I'm not familiar with it.
Like I said, I never saw him anywhere but these touring shows that would come in for the NWA in like the mid 90s. I think this one was like 96, 97. Okay. So I was 10 at the time, so I was really young. But I remember and still believing that it's real. You know what I mean? Like at 10 years old, it's like, this is real. When they cheat, it's like, are you kidding me, ref? Did you not see that? When the good guy wins, you cheer. When the bad guy wins, you boo.
That's what it's all about.
It's real. It's Saturday morning cartoons at that stage for me.
100%.
So I'm just booing the hell out of this Rampage guy. Just like, boo, you suck, middle fingers, I fucking hate you. And I'm just like being a 10-year-old who's just like out in the world with my dad, my parental figure, just trying to go, all right, you can have this tonight.
Right.
But the Rampage wrestler looks right at me on the ring side and just like charges at me and just looks at me. I don't remember if he ever made it anywhere. I just kind of remember catching him at maybe one or just two of these shows. I remember this one. Okay. And I remember like waiting after the show to try to like meet somebody, shake some hands and some autographs, all that stuff you would do after.
Because that's one of the best things about wrestling.
You can catch them outside and kind of go, hey man, good job. Show your appreciation as you should. But I remember just having a conversation with someone, and I didn't look up to see who it was. It was just kind of, hey man, did you enjoy the show tonight? Yeah, it was really cool. Good man, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it was really cool. And I realized it's Rampage. And he's like recognizing me as the kid, so he's just wanting to give me that little bit of shit. I'm going, yeah, I'm glad you did, kid. Oh, man. And I just kind of go, and I, believing it's real. I spent the entire night saying, you suck. Please don't kill me, please. But no, it was a really cool experience. But I mean, that's the type of stuff. I mean, that's good stuff. You go see these house shows, and it's these guys who play the roles. Mm-hmm. Like going back to like an athlete is just the athlete. It's their skills, but it's them who brings it to the court. An actor takes on the role, but it's their skills taking on that role. Mm-hmm. Where a professional wrestler is a odd mixture of that. Yeah, and and the acting part of it is just amazing, because sometimes they'll get told which direction they want to go, like right before they go out there, and have to realize that and switch it on and perform that in front of these people and get some
it over.
Some are great in the ring and they can't really perform. Some are great performers who aren't really good in the ring, and it kind of shows you what skill helps them get over. Right. I mean, I've rooted for people who could barely do a leg drop or barely even like hit the ropes right, but because they sold their character well enough to me.
One of the greatest ever could only do a damn leg drop.
Hulk Hogan. Ugh. Overrated.
But we'll gotta have him.
We'll get into that. There's a Mount Rushmore conversation, and if you stay tuned in, you'll find that out.
That's right.
That's right. Effin' Wrestling Podcast.
Exactly. All right, everybody, welcome back to Effin' Wrestling.
Effin' Wrestling.
That's right, baby. And by the way, we do have a website, an email address, effinwrestling.com, FNWRASSLING.com. Hit us up, leave a comment. Maybe some ideas of what you'd like to talk about or hear about in the next shows. We're getting this baby off and rolling. Let's
tell us how wrong we are.
Right, yes.
Also, another way to really promote this website is we are one of the few websites that have the word ass in it that will not, I repeat, not mess up your search history.
Exactly. You can search for us at work.
Yeah, you can search us at work, at home, on the road, anywhere you want. You can look up the Effin' Wrestling podcast and website.
That's what's up. So this show is a lot of this show is based off a lot of lists and stuff that we talk about at work amongst ourselves when we're at work and everything. A lot of lists, and we'll go back and forth and
just kind of like compare, contrast, switch up. Mm-hmm. agree with one another, disagree with one another, kind of not quite see, because then we come from two different time periods, so there's wrestlers that don't mean as much to myself that they mean to JR, and then there's teams that I go, no, this guy's great, that JR just wasn't watching that, so it's this weird back and forth going, hey man, there's this guy's really good, and then he's showing me this, which has inspired the people that I actually like.
Right. There's a lot of that. That you saying that just now made me realize there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of the tag teams and stuff that I like especially one of your favorites that I know is one of your favorites.
We're not going to say it yet, but you know one group that's on mine. You know one tag team.
Especially the tag team, because that's where we're going to start it off with our list of tag teams.
Yeah. You see, one of the best things about wrestling is you get to pick your favorite characters. You get to pick your favorite heels and your favorite villain. Your favorite villains are heels and your favorite good guys are baby faces. And you get to pick your favorite, pick and choose like a buffet.
Right.
I mean, whose music when they hit do you cheer for? Who, when they have the belts, do you like to see them win or lose? Who are the characters that that carry you through this?
Who's the characters that stroke emotion from you?
Yeah.
Good or bad, whether you cheered for them ridiculously when they won, or you actually came into tears damn near, or whatever when they lost,
absolutely.
or wanted to fight somebody, or jump the rail, or
when you just get pissed off, when you're able just to sit there and scream at the screen and go, "That's not fair!"
Yeah.
I remember. I think it was I believe King of the Ring. It was a first blood match between Austin and Kane for the world title.
Okay.
And Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestles in just a single pair of black trunks. His whole body's exposed.
Yeah.
And then Kane walks out in this. He already wears a full body protective suit with his right arm exposed, and he has this leather mask on.
Right.
He looks like demonic demon from hell crawled up to just fuck your day up.
Yes.
And he walks out with a full sleeve with just his hand revealed.
Right.
I'm forgetting the year, but I'm a young teenager, and I just have a fucking conniption fit. I remember just sitting there with my parents doing their best to calm me down, with even going, dude, it's fine. This is just entertainment. Going, just entertainment.
Wait a minute.
Do you not understand how the injustice the world has bear down upon this man?
Do you not see
Vince
what is
McMahon
going on?
and his corporate shillings have yet again screwed the common man of Stone Cold Steve Austin the way they screwed the common man of Dusty Rhodes.
Oh.
How dare this bastard monster do it yet again? And
again, that's one of those right there. One of those moments how Dusty went against the establishment and everything back in the day, just like Stone Cold did.
Oh man, it's that great evolution of that character, of the man, of that corporate badass. I would say, it evolved from Dusty in NBA to Austin to even Dean Ambrose now, or John Moxley. But again, that's a list for another day.
Exactly.
Because today we're talking about our favorite tag teams.
Tag teams, baby. So with our list, we don't show each other our list before we go on.
We know each other's. We know the styles each other really admires in wrestling. We know the storylines. We know that, and for the most part, we've talked about these in passing. Yeah. But we're going completely blind.
Right.
These are written down, so we can't backtrack
and get an honest just reaction off of each other's list,
and just go for a surprise factor.
Right. You want to go first?
Yeah.
You're the youngest, so you go first.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the right list can go last.
Age and beauty go first now.
Okay, there you go.
My number 5 team. I'm a big WCW fan. As much as I was a fan of the Attitude Era, that's really what I watched growing up and get into it. I love WCW.
Right.
I love that era. And for my first favorite team, I have to go Harlem Heat.
Nice.
You have Booker T. You have Stevie Ray. You have Sister Sherry. They are 10-time WCW tag team champions. They are homegrown from that. They are fantastic tag team. Stevie Ray never really went on to do much, but you have Booker T, who is a legacy within everything he does. Booker T is one of my favorite wrestlers of just staple points, and watching him go from tag team to singles to even going over
five time. I love that.
I mean, it was such a great. When he was King of Booker.
One of the best kings of the ring ever, if not the best, until probably now with Baron Corbin. But again, that's a list for another day.
But I will agree, man. I the King gimmick is a hard one to pull off.
Yeah.
And that's going to work in the cat team call. But he you have to really embrace such a silly gimmick. You either have to be cool enough to go, hey man, it's whatever, and I just won, or you just embrace it fully.
The hell out of it.
And
that made him in WWF.
It did. I mean, he and Buff Bagwell had that first WCW match when they tried to keep Nitro going, and it was a total bomb. So I mean, it kind of showed his place in the company. Yeah. But again,
Harlem Heat, nice, good start. Hey man, that's a good start. It's a good start, youngster. Good start, youngster. I'm impressed. You know,
I'm impressed you can remember that far back.
I am bald. I am bald. So you know,
you're not bald. You're not bald. You shave your head. There's a difference.
But I shaved it because there's a big glaring bald spot.
I'm trying to help you out here.
All right, let's go.
We're on radio. No one can see us.
Number 4.
Oh, no. What's your number 5 now?
Oh, we're going
to go back and forth right now, huh? Give me your number 5. Give me your number 5. We're doing tit for tat. We're doing tit for tat, man.
Oh,
We're going to see you as the better list.
So
Chase's number 5 is Harlem Heat. Who's yours, JR?
Lucha Bros.
Goddamn. All right, that is a good fifth spot.
All right, so
I salute you.
I'm just getting into Lucha Bros. Just a year or two ago.
Yeah, I mean AEW started last right. Dynamite started, or I think officially kicked off last October.
Right.
And we've kind of been watching it and kind of getting in. I've been a fan of Pentagon. He's a member of that because I was a fan of Lucha Underground. So I watched both those guys on that program.
Right.
And so I've seen the single stars and then just seeing them team up together and. Dude, I can't argue anymore. They are a fantastic. They deserve a spot on anybody's top
I
5.
love them, man, and I almost didn't want to have like just a recency bias or just because they're new or whatever, and you know what I mean.
But they put the work in.
But just looking at them, and I've gone back and watched a couple of their other matches and everything, and I just love what they bring.
The way they
professional
move,
wrestling.
It's just fantastic.
The way Pentagon Jr. moves in the ring is sexy as hell.
Yeah.
It is just smooth.
And it's like they're a cool
and just
juxtaposition.
Fluid and just, it's a lot. It's the juxtaposition. Pentagon Jr. is amazing wrestling and everything. And Ray Phoenix is just one of the most agile high flyers out there.
I mean, the guy's as far as I'm concerned, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. He's the next Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I mean, just the sheer spectacle he puts on, the feats. I mean, he's damn near injured himself. I don't know how many times. Every time he throws himself around, I go, well, he's injured, and that match is off the card, and the whole show's going to see him again for a while. But he never is. That kid is limber.
He's so smooth.
And something else, and I'm sure this will pop up on other lists, but this goes back for both our 5 spot because Booker T and Stevie Ray are brothers. And Pentagon and Ray Phoenix are brothers. And that's one of those things about tag teams I've always been a sucker for.
That's really
cool. They're brothers. They grew up together, and now they travel the world and they fight people for tag team titles.
They realize they can't do it on their own, so they have to stay with their brother to make it as champions.
Do you think their mom and dad are like proud of them around the holiday? See, I mean that's just the shit I dig, that's man. Awesome. And I like that factor. Where you do have great groups who are people who have been best friends for their whole life, or groups of people who have hey, you two. Tag team. Right. Just that's the origin of a group we're going to talk about in momentarily down the list, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, for sure. For sure. Speaking of 4, Chase, who's your number 4, sir?
It's funny that they're number 4 because it took a lot of time to go, all right, are they going to be number 4? Because it's so gimmicky to put them at number 3 because it's Team 3D, the Dudley Boys.
Nice.
I am a massive fan. I mean, I don't know how to begin this. I like ECW. I'm kind of a fan of Impact. I'm kind of getting into it more now. I love WWF when they were doing the table, ladders, and chairs TLC rivalry. I mean, when you were in tag team, when you were going into the early 2000s and you were into tag team wrestling, you had 3 teams you could like. I mean, 4 arguably, but there was 3. You liked Edge and Christian for the comedy. You liked Edge, the Hardy Boys for high flying, or you loved the shit out of the Dudley Boys for their hard hitting, hardcore style. They were putting someone through the table every time they showed up. Right. I mean, and you had
man.
I mean, going through this. It's
not bad.
When you hit WWE, you have Devon and Bubba Ray Dudley, who just show up, and I mean, already it's one of those things where it's like,
wait a minute, it's like one of those things, like you're white. You're black. How do you have the same last name?
Oh, we don't know that. Once upon a time, back in a little land of ECW, read by a quite trollish man by the name of Paul Heyman. There was a town known as Dudleyville. And in Dudleyville there lived a man by the name of Big Daddy Dudley. Now, Big Daddy Dudley was quite the man of reputation around town, for he had bore himself 7 illegitimate children, and they all went on to become a professional wrestling faction known as the Dudleys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the story. And that was the whole faction of the Dudleys. There was Big Dick Dudley. There was Bubba Ray Dudley, Chubby Dudley, Dances with Dudley, Devon Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, Spike Dudley, and Snot Dudley, all under the reign of Big Daddy Dudley. And that was all under ECW.
Yeah.
And ECW, man, they were a dominating force. They were 8-time tag team champions.
Wow.
That was, I believe they all held it under that, so I'm not quite sure who held it the most about which group. I know Devon and Bubba were considered the big tag team of that faction.
Yeah.
And when they went over to, so that's just a cool
origin story. So they held it 8 times in ECW?
Yeah, they were 8-time champions in ECW.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's even before they get there, even before they get WWE. And they actually wrestled in WCW once. I couldn't quite find the year for that in my research, but they were tag team champions in WCW. I mean, their lineage of gold is insane. So they're 8-time ECW champions. They're 9-time WWE champions. They're 1-time WCW champions. They're 2-time TNA champions as Team 3D. And what really blew my mind, and what I really was excited about, is that Devon and Bubba went to New Japan and are 2-time IWGP champions.
I knew they won it once. I didn't know they were 2-time.
Yeah.
I knew they were, because I'm not a lot. Again, as you know, we go on this, I'm not very familiar with New Japan, but I'm getting into it now and trying to get familiar with it now. But the Dudleys, my man, that's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. The Dudleys are amazing. They're not on my list. The Dudleys are not on this list.
I respect that. I had to have one of those tanks.
They're on a future list of mine, possibly.
Absolutely.
As far as, Mount Rushmore tag teams, blah blah blah. But as far as what I popped when they came out, or all that kind of thing, they're not on my list
every time. When they came back, and I forget what pay-per-view it was. It was their last run in WWE. Yeah. I lost it. They were so great. They put
It was against Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, it was. Yes. They put over Gallows and Anderson, which was
brothers.
The Good Brothers.
Yes.
Couple of Good Brothers.
Good Brothers, baby. From Asheville,
and
Anderson
from
Asheville,
you gotta look
North Carolina, baby.
Look at Bully Ray, man, when he went to TNA.
Yeah.
And became world champion, leader of Aces H, which is a really cool faction.
Yeah.
Devon was a member of that as well, so you had that keep that connection going. Another thing, if I can just get this out before we go to your number 4, is it's one of those things we're talking about. Fantasy booking is one of those big things that this channel is going to be about.
Yes.
And what really makes me so
the fun stuff. It's the
fun stuff. It's like whatever the ether can be out there in the wrestling world. And one thing I was just want to throw out there in the world is JR.
Yeah.
JR.
Yeah.
Devon Dudley has 2 legit in the real world.
Yeah.
Twin sons. I believe they are, if my notes are correct, Terrence and Terrell.
Okay.
They're twins.
Wow.
They are both professional wrestlers.
Wow.
Now, all I really want is either AEW or New Japan, not WWE. As we go on, you'll realize that I don't like anyone to go to WWE.
No,
I want them to stay
especially
NXT,
a tag team.
Especially not a tag team.
Oh.
They are. That's a whole other episode, but they are ruined when they go over there.
Oh man.
But if you could have Uncle Bubba be the manager for Terrell and Terrence Dudley.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that just be...
That would be...
I would mark out pretty hard because it's that generational thing of you had hey man, here's Big Daddy Dudley back in the late 80s, early 90s with this faction, and now his sons have went on and became these dominating, and now the lineage continues. I would love that. Lineage is a huge thing in wrestling.
Lineage is awesome. From the fathers, the sons, brothers, all that kind of stuff. Daughters, daughters for sure.
Absolutely,
daughters for sure. Which speaking of brothers in lineage in wrestling and tag teams, this conversation is going to be short because my number 4 is Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Harlem Heat.
That's a good spot.
Oh man,
that was my ringtone for like a year.
I loved Harlem.
I mean, you're talking about some of the
loved Harlem.
They're like giant. They're onesie that they came out
Yes.
in when they were rocking the purple, yellow, and orange look. It was just badass.
Beautiful.
And I mean, take out. This is probably going to go down happen again in the conversation, but for the evolution of WCW, which did crash and burn.
Yes.
Unfortunately, around like 99, 2000, I think it went to 2002.
Mm-hmm.
It sadly lost all its momentum. But the really cool thing about WCW is by its dying days, your A-B star of the whole thing was Booker T and Scott Steiner. Booker T was your number one face. Scott Steiner was your number one heel. And they traded, I mean, there were a lot of vacancies for that world title during the end. Right. But they held it a number of times towards the end. So I really like the idea of you had these two guys who started in tag teams who build their reputation of one becoming this uber face and the other one becoming this uber heel, become like, here are the guys fighting for the world title. And, you know, we'll get to the Steiner brothers at some point, I'm sure. But Scott's physique versus Booker's skill was always such a really cool story to watch play out.
Right. And stories, that's what it's all about. The storytelling in the ring, that's what it's all about, man.
It's about what can you tell in the ring.
Right.
What drama can you create.
And a lot of sometimes that doesn't work just with the big swole ass buff ass dude and somebody in the ring. Like
some guys can't figure it out.
Sometimes that doesn't work.
Not to get too off subject. I know the actor who played the Mountain in I think the 5th season of Game of Thrones. Arn Anderson was kind of telling a shoot story where Vince wanted him to wrestle because he's a fucking beast, but he just couldn't run the ropes.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's kind of goes like, no matter how scary looking you are, if you can't have the movement there, can't be able to tell a story in a ring, what good are you for a long period of time?
Braun Strowman. Anyway, let's move on to your number 3.
My number 3 pick is a team.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Your number 3.
Yeah, my number 3.
Sorry.
Harlem Heat. Man, they're great. But on the... See, we're sharing one already. Look at us.
Right.
Look at us getting along. My number 3 team is the Steiner Brothers.
Okay.
I love the Steiner Brothers. They're one of the first teams to get me into wrestling. Yeah. And, I mean, you have Rick and Scott, Rick the oldest, the dog-faced gremlin.
Dog-faced gremlin, baby.
Scott Steiner, we just talked about, who has this great career of kind of just going through their tag team, would go all the way to become U.S. champion in WCW, world champion in WCW as a heel. When he would turn on his brother, that was so late in the game.
Oh, God, that broke my heart, though.
Yeah, it was sad, man. But it was such a great rivalry. They would cut so many promos, getting so far ahead of ourselves. But the Steiners were they're two brothers, legit brothers, who have, Roman Greco wrestling backgrounds from universities in Michigan. And they just traveled the world becoming professional wrestlers, but their whole gimmick were as legit mat wrestlers. Yeah. Through that, they were
very athletic.
Scott Steiner was insane.
Athletic mat
they were like he was a huge guy to begin with, and then just kind of kept putting on mass. I mean, he
the Frankenstein, the Frankenstein, his ability
to a guy that big should not be able to throw someone leap and.
He was one of the first people I've seen do that.
Oh no! What was it? He had this one finisher, the Steiner driver. Yeah, he would put you on his knees and then toss you, grab you, and spike you on your head. I'm sure he killed a lot of people. He had to have seriously injured somebody. But in the Steiner brothers' entire history, these guys were 2-time WWF Tag Team Champions. Okay. They were 5-time WCW champions. They were 1-time NWA Mid-Atlantic champions. And they were 2-time IWGP Tag Team champions. Wow. I mean, that's traveling the world and holding every major title that you can.
That's being a champion wherever you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they wrestled all the major teams. They took on the Head Shrinkers, who I love the Head Shrinkers. They picked up on the Head Shrinkers at WrestleMania 9, the one at Caesar's Palace. That's all. That's all. Like Caesar and Roman inspired. It's really weird. And then they were part of one of my favorite Survivor series. When we get into talking about events, we'll talk about favorite events at some point, I'm sure. I'm sure we will. But in '93, they were a part of a Survivor Series team called, I believe, the All Americans. Okay. And it was Lex Luger, the Steiner brothers, and it was meant to be Tatanka, but the last minute Tatanka was switched out for the Undertaker, which is still a really solid squad. Yeah. And they took on, I think, the Un-Americans, which were like Yokozuna, Ludwig von something. Wow. I'm blanking. One of the Quebecers, and I think Crush. Nice. Because Hawaii's not America. I don't know.
Whatever.
Like, I never got that because he's always like, oh, Crush from Hawaii.
Yeah. That is...
Like, I'm too young. Like, I'm like learning what the states are, and I'm at this point going, wait
a minute.
Wait, I was under the belief that this was... It was like those weird things where you have like a Bret Hart or a Chris Jericho or a Chris Benoit, and they're like fighting a Japanese wrestler or a wrestler from a clear another country, and the audience just starts chanting USA, USA for a Canadian wrestler. It's like going, guys, a little bit of research,
come on,
just a little bit of research.
Yeah.
But no, that's my number 3 team is the Steiner brothers. But for a fun story, in '97, I saw them at a house show. It was a WCW.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw this hand, JR. Wow. This hand that you can't see, listeners, that I'm holding up.
Right.
It slapped the hand of Scott Steiner. I literally said the words, I'm never going to wash this hand again.
Definitely. I've been there. I've done that. I did that with Tully Blanchard.
Oh.
I did that with Tully Blanchard.
That is amazing. Yep. But the weird thing is, so they were doing this house show, and it was this weird... I don't even know why they were off they weren't even the main circuit. Little Washington was not a big town. It should not have been on the main circuit, but it was this WCW versus ECW card. Jeez. And there were great matches. I mean, Adam Bomb was on the card. Mr. Hughes was on the card. Kamala was on the card. The American Eagle was on the card. Who else? So this Rob Van Dam was on the card.
Yeah.
So the Steiners were supposed to take on, get this, the Faces of Fear. It's supposed to be Barbarian and Ming.
At a house show?
At a house show. I was going to catch
you
the
was gonna
Steiners
see that at a house show,
versus
Holmes
the Faces of Fear. Think about that.
Oh, come on, man.
But don't get so excited.
Damn.
So since Sadness, Ming apparently no show. I don't know why. Ming was not
probably
there.
got into a fight and beat the shit out of somebody.
He probably murdered somebody. And you have to get rid of a body. That takes some time.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
I mean, because Ming's the scariest man alive.
Yes.
I don't even have to go into that. He just is. Just listen to my voice. If you meet someone named Ming, run.
Yeah, definitely.
AKA Haku. He doesn't go by Haku. Ming.
No, Ming.
So Ming no show. So it's actually Barbarian teaming up with Mr. Hughes.
Barbarian.
And it is this awesome hard match. Scott Steiner goes through a table that doesn't seem to want to break. I see the Frankensteiner, and it's just this cool moment of being that kid going, I've watched you on tapes. Right. You've won wrestling matches, and you're right in front of me. And it's just kind of one of those things where, that was actually a thought process I had to put in when I was selecting who are my favorites. Of going, oh, did I see you live? Oh, that's pretty cool. I got to see you do your thing in person.
Yeah.
And that's a neat little
That's what's up, man.
It didn't put him in number 1 or number 2 by any means, but I was like, all right. I've always respected you as a tag team. I love WCW. You have the accolades. And I saw you guys live headline a show in my hometown.
That's so cool.
All right, Diaz, you're in my top 5 easily.
Yeah, never mind. I thought our TV went to black. My bad. That's why I made that funny look on my face. I apologize. I was still listening to you, but that's awesome. But no, man, having a story like that to tie into it, that makes it even better.
He wasn't.
Of course I was.
To me.
Unfortunately, here I'll go back to the Steiners aren't on this list of my favorites, but maybe down the line they'll appear on another list of mine. Maybe a greatest of all time tag team.
I'm not listening to you like you weren't listening to me.
All right. So maybe you don't listen to me talk about my number 3 pick, which is the right one. Midnight Express.
Okay.
But
all right.
But I have to give most of the credit to it.
Yeah.
To Jim Cornette.
Oh, that's like cheating though. That man is that guy's like brilliant.
But when I heard that music, come on. It was just subtle. It was just that do. It was just so slow and just subtle, just quiet.
I saw them live.
Oh, I did too. Against the Rock and Roll Express, by the way. Amazing.
And you know what? I didn't care.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
I was sitting there and man, who are these old guys doing this
Jim
stuff?
Cornette, one of my greatest memories of wrestling. I watched Jim Cornette air an old woman's ass out in the Asheville Civic Center. He cussed her the fuck out, bro. I loved it.
Let me tell you something, Granny. Why don't you get the fuck out of here? You don't know a goddamn thing. You don't know it. You don't
know nothing about wrestling. You don't know shit.
You don't know a power driver from a chokehold here, yo beanbag Granny.
Oh yeah.
And that's nowhere near. Yes. Please go YouTube any Jim Cornette rant.
He is golden.
He puts drill instructors to shame. I think with the amount of profanity.
He loves
wrestling.
He is wrestling.
I mean, no matter what,
no
Jim Cornette is
one
one of those
my favorites.
minds. I mean, he can be a little outdated and hate some things. I think he refuses to age with the times.
Yeah.
Which is
he's not aging
thing.
well with the times.
He's not aging well with the times by any means, and even what wrestling is becoming, because he's hating a lot of people who I think are the future face of wrestling.
Yeah,
like Kenny Omega, like the Young Bucks.
Right.
But in that, he's also liking the Adam Pages and the Revival, who are like all these guys. All these guys are the future of wrestling, but it's all the styles that are coming together that are the future wrestling.
Exactly.
So
Jim Cornette, man, that's why I love. And the Midnight Express, and I'm talking about with Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane Midnight Express. That was my favorite combination of the Midnight Express. Bobby Eaton, I don't know why I loved old beautiful Bobby Eaton so much. He was never in shape, you know what I mean? But he had that beautiful blonde mullet. But Jim Cornette, I think I would just love hearing their music come on and knowing that Jim Cornette is going to come out there and possibly... He's definitely going to interfere in the match.
Oh,
but he's going to get into it with a fan. He might be strung up in it. He was one of the first that I've seen in the shark cage above the cage, the matches and shit like that. Well, he had that fight. He had the match with Paulie Dangerously.
Oh yeah,
it was beautiful. Jim Cornette is be solely responsible for my love of the Midnight Express.
When we do top 5 managers.
Oh, he's number 1. I'm selling it right now. Sorry. Spoiler alert.
Thanks, JR!
Spoiler alert. And
no one's going to tune into episode... Hey. Oh, wait. You won't know which one it is. All right. So moving on to number 2.
Midnight Express was my number 3. So, Chase.
Yes.
Who is your number 2, sir?
My number 2 is funny, man, because you went modern with your number 5 spot.
Yes.
Because you didn't want to go kind of like hop right into modern wrestling, see their accolades and things like that.
Right.
And funny enough, I think the Lucha Bros are a team that deserve to be on any list because they've traveled the world solo or stars. And now they've come together to be like this group dynamic on AEW. I really think both of them are going to hold world titles, world and TNT. Easily, I can see them both. But I went ahead and jumped on a team that has all the respect in the world, has all the talent in the world, doesn't have the lineage in the world. But fuck that, because fuck the rest. Its Revival is number 2. Wow. FTR, we're going to slip up and call Revival, we're going to slip up and call them their old names, so sorry, but you know what? Fuck that, as in, fuck the rest. The Revival might be the team that got me back into wrestling. What got me back into wrestling was NXT. I was watching the SummerSlam match, not the SummerSlam match, the TakeOver Brooklyn match between Finn Balor and Kevin Owens, and from that alone, I got back in. The Demon Balor got me in, so I was hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. And the Revival is just one of the greatest old school inspired teams to ever lace up boots.
It is beautiful tag team wrestling.
Beautiful
tag team wrestling.
I mean, Tully Blanchard and everybody, Jim Cornette. If they are from the old school wrestling, they talk about the Revival or FTR in such.
They're the Revival.
They're the Revival. They're FTR.
And I'll just go ahead and jump ahead before we get into it. But the Revival is my number 2 also.
Yeah.
I shit you not. Shit you not, brother. They're my number 2 also. And I wrote the Revival, not FTR.
Yeah, I did both just to have
that's
myself
great.
Right.
This is
perfect.
Beautiful.
Number 2 team of all time is the Revival. Why? Because they're just great, dude.
They are.
The Shatter Machine is a perfect finisher. You have
they're just perfect heel wrestlers. Yeah. I've always gravitated toward the heels anyway.
They just know how to play like the ring. Talk about psychology and telling the story.
They'll cut off that ring and you're done.
I mean, you have Cash Wheeler and Dax Hardwood
now,
as their new as 2 Asheville boys as well.
Baby, North Carolina is where it's at with some wrestling.
And the weird thing is, unlike the last couple of teams we've mentioned, where the Steiners and the Lucha Bros are brothers, Harlem Heat are brothers. These 2 guys aren't even like I'm not even sure how long they've known each other, but I know they were just put together as a tag team.
I think they met
Dusty.
Yeah, I think they met at the training center.
Yeah, at the Performance Center.
NXT Performance Center, yeah, and Dusty just was like putting them together.
Yeah, they weren't going anywhere. I know, what is it, Dax Harwood, who used to be, now that I have to know the other
Dash? No,
because Cash Wheeler is Dash, so Scott Dawson.
Yeah.
So Dax Harwood, a.k.a. Scott Dawson, had this like redneck trucker gimmick with Alexa Bliss, and they dropped that really early, and he teamed up with Scott Dawson.
I didn't know that part. I didn't.
Yeah, I've only seen like a promotional image, so I don't know how far along it went.
Yeah,
but I mean, I know they went through a few names where they got to the revival because they were the mechanics, I think, for a bit.
I heard them mention that. Yeah,
and I actually like that name. I thought that was a pretty cool name of like, oh hey, we're gonna. It kind of kept that Southern charm aspect to it, but also played up the fact of
we're gonna fix tag team wrestling.
We're gonna fix tag team wrestling. We're gonna break you down in a methodical way. I mean, and they're also the first 2-time NXT Tag Team Wrestling Tag Team Champions.
Nice.
Which I think is neat. They're 2-time Raw Tag Team Champions, 2-time SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
Wow. 4-time WWE champs in 2 years. What?
I mean, think about that. That's nuts to put together. And they put together some of the best matches.
Yeah.
Like, take over the Indians.
Their matches are
Alpha.
put in. Yeah. Oh.
And that's when they became 2-time champions. Their match at Ontario, the 2 out of 3 falls with Din's DIY, which is again a great tag team, a wonderful story.
Great match.
It's that beautiful image at the very end. It's that double tap out. I forget the move names, because I'm not really good with knowing the names of moves. But it's Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa.
Was it the STF?
Maybe.
No.
I'm not recalling off the top. I'm not
like the submission that John Cena used to pull out every once in a while.
Maybe because it was both. Because both of them had it in it. They were like FTR was holding each other's hands, not the tap, and they finally give up. And like it's
it was emotional.
It was an emotional win for DIY.
It was a very emotional win.
But no, now they're over at AEW. They're arguably the greatest tag team. I mean, they don't have the biggest accolades of other tag teams we could list.
But good God, this is just great tag team.
Barring some injury or anything
they'll
like that,
be the greatest tag
they
team
will be the greatest tag teams. They're better than their matches, the Young Bucks. Dude, and just think, we are on the precipice. So when we talk about factions and forming groups, so I got to give us credit.
We're definitely taking credit for this shit. Fuck that.
Fuck it, JR.
Yeah.
Line in the sand.
Yes.
Yeah. JR and I were the first people to ever put FTR and Adam Hangman Page together in a faction, and we called it cowboy shit.
Cowboy shit.
They got together and they did cowboy shit.
And my 4th member of that faction would be Cameron Grimes. Another North Carolina boy, baby. Hell yeah.
Dude.
But yeah, no, we've been talking. We put that together.
We put that together so long. And to see it happen and forming in front of our eyes.
It's 100%.
I mean, it's the Brain Busters and Barry Windham.
Oh,
I mean, that's what that looks like.
Yes.
I mean, they just need Cody to go bad, and he's their Rick.
I mean, Sean Spears is going to be their second guy, though.
Well, someone needs to take.
He'll be the TV
champion.
You know. Yeah, true.
I mean, hey,
that is true.
Someone needs to count the lights.
Somebody's got to do it.
But you're right. He will be Adam Page will be World, FTR will be Tag, and Sean Spears will be TNT. Yeah. And they're
going to have to come up with another belt because nobody's going to want to tune in to TNT to see Sean Spears as a TNT champion.
He doesn't hold it long.
No.
He just has to hold it. I just need a photo taken
with all 4 of them holding it up.
Look, ladies and gentlemen.
Holding up the gold in the 4.
I love a faction. If you form a faction and all members do not hold every belt, what was the point of forming it in the first place?
That's true.
I mean, if you have a group and they all have a title within these federations, and every federation has multiple titles.
Yes.
Let them hold it. It's Undisputed Era in NXT. The moment you had Adam Cole with the World, you had Undisputed Era with the you had Bobby Fish and Ryan O'Reilly with the tag.
Right.
And then you had Roger Strong with North American. It was great.
And Roger Strong is definitely there to count the lights.
Shut up.
100%.
Shut up, dude. Roger Strong. He is not a good face. No. I'll give you that, but he is a sniveling heel.
Yes, he
so
is.
good.
Ugh.
You could easily team him
get
up.
His ass kicked every time.
I bet you could put him in Baron Corbin's court and be fine and dandy with it.
No way. He's not in Baron. He can't sniff Baron Corbin's tights.
Dude. That's a whole other conversation, but dude.
One whole other conversation. Because
Baron we're off subject. All right. We were talking about FTR.
So yeah, they were my number 2. They're my number 2.
They were my number 2.
That's
because,
perfect.
Dude, they're just so entertaining. Those guys just get it. They're fun to watch. Every time they show up on Being the Elite, it's adorable to watch them and Adam Page. It's like, this is not the tough guy story you see in wrestling. This is just like that very sweet John Hughes, like, you know, oh man, is this like 16 Candles with wrestling?
Right.
All right. I am here for that.
Right. That's awesome, man. So
yeah,
we had the same number 2. That's our list. It's pretty cool how our lists are kind of similar, but
it's almost like we're friends in the real world,
right? You would think somebody might think so, but how dare they?
My word.
Anywho,
my word.
Number 1 on your list, baby.
All right, look. This isn't even fair. There's only one team that's allowed to be anybody.
No.
If you actually like wrestling, if you're not new to wrestling, if you grew up watching it, and if you've been a fan for quite some time, or you're just getting into it, there's only one tag team that can ever be your favorite.
Right.
And that is the Road Warriors. JR, do you have the Road Warriors as your number 1? Because the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, are the number 1 greatest tag team of all time.
Jesus Christ.
And my personal favorite, but they're the greatest of all time as well.
Yes. I totally agree. Everything you said, I totally agree with. There was no reason to even. That was the first when I made my list. I did them all on the same sheet of paper.
Yeah.
I did the men up top, women in the middle, then tag teams. The first name on my sheet of paper was the Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't anything to think about.
I mean, just think about it. They created what I imagine. I mean, gimmick wrestling's always been there. But these 2 giant monsters from Chicago who were bouncers to begin with, riddled with muscles, who would shave their heads into mohawks and painted like war battle makeup on.
Well, they were the remnants of Mad Max.
Yeah, they took everything from Mad Max, man.
That and
the shoulder pads and the spikes. I mean, and just their lineage, and they were hard hitting.
Just
guys.
Their domination everywhere they went.
Everywhere they went. The Doomsday Device.
The Doomsday Device.
Animal
Come on,
would
man.
hoist you up on his shoulders.
Come on,
Animal would, Hawk would go to that top rope, and he would perch from his nest and peer down as a vulture, as a bird of prey, and would just tackle you down to the mat.
That shit was beautiful.
And take out their lineage. I mean,
that shit was beautiful, man.
Their history, man. I was actually surprised though. So this is weird. They were 3-time NWA champions.
Okay.
They were 2-time WWF champions. They never held the WCW gold, even though they were there for a cup of coffee. Yeah. They never held the gold. Wow. But they were there long enough to rock blue instead of red, which is really weird.
That's weird.
They show up in blue, and I'm not about that.
Get the fuck out of here.
But one fact I did find out that was pretty neat. Under the name the Hellraisers, they are 2-time IWGP World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Yes.
And that's just... The Hellraisers? That's a cool name. I'm all about that.
Now, was that with Hawk and Animal? Because I know at one point Hawk was over there.
In the research I did, that was with Hawk and Animal.
That dude,
the other man, dude. The other guy. Their new member.
So it was Hawk and Animal?
I believe it was Hawk and Animal.
Okay, that's research. Awesome. That's awesome.
If I'm wrong on that, just call me a dumb shit in the comments. Yeah. And we'll call it even.
Word up.
I don't give a fuck.
Fuck it.
And so let me get straight.
So let's go. Who's your 5 again?
So my 5 are number 5 is Harlem Heat. Number 4 is the Dudley Boys. Number 3 is the Steiner Brothers. Number 2 is FTR, and number 1 is the Road Warriors. JR, who was your 5?
My 5 was number 5 was Lucha Bros. Number 4 was Harlem Heat. Number 3 was the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. Number 2 was the Revival. I wrote the Revival, FTR, whichever you prefer.
We're going to go back and forth.
FTR, they are now, but whatever. And number 1 is the greatest tag team of all time, the Road Warriors.
JR, do you realize that we agreed on 3 teams?
That's amazing. That's really cool.
And you know what? Lucha Bros were very close to going on my list.
You know who? The Hollywood Blondes were close to getting on my list.
The Hollywood Blondes. That is such a good honorable mention. Brian Pillman and Stunning Steve Austin.
Yes.
Dude, and that was before his neck injury when he could go.
Oh, he could go.
I mean, those are 2 different wrestlers. And the fact he evolved.
He was amazing.
You know who another honorable mention tag team has to be? The Good Brothers. I mean, New Japan IWGP champions, Raw Tag Team champions, all around badass funny guys,
and future
dudes,
and future Impact champions,
and future Impact Tag Team champions. I'll go ahead and say
it's done. Like it's already done.
It's done.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm certain of it.
Go North Carolina Wrestlers. We love
Go North Carolina Wrestlers.
They're the best. They're the best. So yeah,
So they are.
that's a taste of how this show is going to be. You know what I mean? So we started it off with our favorite tag teams. We'll just elevate from there. We'll go with our favorite men wrestler of all time, favorite female wrestlers of all time, favorite managers of all time,
favorite valets of all time.
Okay,
all right, yeah. At a point we're going to run out of things. We'll have to just do like valets.
Uniform,
why not?
Costumes, all that good stuff.
Costumes, favorite gimmick, favorite face paint, favorite mask, favorite grunge, favorite 90s, favorite pay-per-view, favorite gimmick match, favorite weapon ever used, favorite title.
Right.
We're here to talk about everything that is fucking wrestling.
Baby. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.
F in wrestling. We put the F back in wrestling.